Well, hello and welcome. This is your host for the Healit Show, kendfoster. I'm so glad to have you here today. Today is a very special day because today is a day that you can take your life to a completely new level. And I don't say that lightly. Quite frankly, transformation, change is a little difficult for most of us. I know it's been difficult for me. I've been on this path for about 30 years now. And every single day, making changes, improvements, growing, learning. Man, it's been quite a path. And as a result of that, I have a lot of joy in my life. And, it wasn't always that way. I didn't start out, doing these shows and feeling 100%. I've gone through a lot of challenges, which is why I decided to do these shows, why I decided to do the Healit Show, to bring in the top guests, doctors, practitioners, scientists, researchers, individuals that actually have the answers to our health issues, whether it be mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. It doesn't really matter, except I guess everything does matter. Everything does count. And when you start to learn the principles that my teachers, they're my teachers, they're your teachers. They come into the show and they teach us specific ways to heal our bodies, to heal our minds, to have more vitality, more life, more joy, more happiness. That's what this show's about. And today, I have a very special guest. He's a man that's gone through a transformation that none of us want to go through. He'll tell you his story in a minute. But his transformation led him to really understand what we put in our body, what we put in our mind, and at a level that none of us probably know. Because again, he's gone through a challenge that is profound, quite frankly. He's been a friend of mine for many, many years. And he's has a new intention. He has new visions today because of his journey. And that's what I want for you. I hope that you will share this show with your friends, your family, those you love, because this is a show of transformation, of change, and stepping into the greater part of yourself. So in a second, we're going to bring in Dr. James Lee right after the commercial.
Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Introducing Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact.
It is so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Strengthen and tone your legs, increase your mobility, flexibility, and balance. Plus, stimulate healthy circulation.
My joints feel better, my knees feel better, my back feels better. It makes me feel stronger too.
Perfect for home therapy. Whisper quiet to use while you work.
My circulation is moving, I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. Call and get upgraded to the Deluxe Bundle. Get the faster motor or 5 miles of steps per hour, the step counter, the sport mat, and wireless remote. Call now.
Well, welcome, Dr. Lee. It's so good to have you. Welcome to the Healit Show today.
Ken, thank you for having me. It's an honor and pleasure.
Well, I've been so looking forward to having this conversation with you. And for those of you that don't know my guest, Dr. James Lee, he is a globally respected anesthesiologist, celebrated for his groundbreaking contributions in the field of, I can't even say this word, perioperative medicine. I bet you'll correct me. Pain management and anesthesia techniques. With over 2 decades of experience, Dr. Lee has transformed patient care in operating rooms worldwide, blending advanced clinical expertise with compassionate approach to medicine. Now, that's part of this story. The other part of the story you're going to learn today. And Dr. James, you're going to tell your story in just a second about your complete life transformation and where you are today. But that's where you started. And now where are you today? Let's get into that beautiful story because it's amazing. By the way, Dr. James, there's a new book coming out called Broken. We'll be talking about that a little later on in the show. But let's get into your story. So what happened? What happened while you were in the working with the patient and you've got the patient on the gurney and there's
First of all, Ken, thank you for having me. Yeah, thank you. You glitched there, so I didn't know if you stopped talking or not. But first of all, thank you for having me on your show and allowing me to tell my story. Thank you for that wonderful intro. I listened to that, and it feels like a lifetime ago. That person that you're talking about, the award-winning perioperative medicine, that doctor that was on top of the world. Yeah, that was me. I was at one point doing everything. I was taking calls 2-3 days in a row. I was working 90 hours a week. I was a husband. I was a father. And juggling 8 plates and doing it all. And one day, like you said, I was in the ORs. I was finishing up a case. I was actually, I had a patient on the table. And last 15 minutes of the case, the surgeon, I know this surgeon, we'd worked together many years, 7 years at this point. And I knew the routine. He was going to give a particular medication right at the very end, just to make sure everything was okay. And I turned around, second drawer, a left side, I knew exactly where it was. I reached for it. And as I looked down, I felt a pop behind my left eye. It was very subtle. It was like as if you took a pea and you smushed it. I thought that felt strange. And as I did so, I looked down and I couldn't read the medication bottle. It was purple. Everything turned purple. I looked up and the surgeon was purple. He looked like a dinosaur, like the Barney. So I called him Dr. Barney because I couldn't remember his name. And I looked up and I said, this medication bottle, I know I'm supposed to give it, but I don't know what to do with it. And I don't know what it is. And the OR staff looked at me. Half my face was drooping and the room started spinning. So I literally, the little anesthesiologist inside this brain thought, you know what, I just popped an aneurysm. Because that smush, that pea smush that I felt probably was the aneurysm popping. My brain's losing function right now. And as I thought that, I fall to my knees and the room is spinning. I can't open my eyes. And the next thing I know, the surgeon is at my shoulders, shaking me awake, saying, Dr. Lee, can you wake this patient up? And I couldn't open my eyes, but I nodded. I said, I think so. So with my eyes closed, I reach for all the dials. I'm breathing for the patient until she wakes up. And as soon as I said, okay, she's breathing, they have 2 gurneys, one for me, one for my patient. She goes to the recovery room and I go to the ER. And it was a long journey after that. It was about another year before we figured out what happened. Without getting too much into detail, there were some misdiagnoses along the way, which slowed things down. But I had a brain tumor. And that kind of sidetracked me for, I would say 3 to 5 years. Like I went from a highly functional, highly capable anesthesiologist working at, I think at one point I was working at 9 different hospitals. And I went from that to someone who could barely brush his teeth in the morning. Like it devastated me. It took everything I had. It took everything I knew. It took who I knew I was and left me as what I would. I look back and I realized I looked and felt and acted within the limits of a useless human being. Like I couldn't take care of myself. I could barely get ready and brush my teeth in the morning. That went on for weeks, months. And it was the story of kind of going from there and picking myself up and bringing myself back.
Wow. That's an incredible story. And you and I have talked about this story a little bit, and you described to me at one point where you felt like you may have had maybe 20% of your brain left, and you're talking about what the transition was, like what had to happen for you to start getting back, the nutrition or the thoughts or the way you were using your body. I'd love to get into that because I think it's a story of consciousness of how you brought you became aware of what was working, what wasn't working, and how you brought it back. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. You know, I'll talk a little bit about my training too. My undergraduate degree is in molecular biophysics and biochemistry. I have it. That was from Yale, and I have an MD from Stanford, a medical degree. So I kind of in the back of my head had stored these tools. Like I knew how the body was built. I had learned at one point the on a molecular basis the fundamental biochemical processes that build us, who we are. And then with my medical degree, I learned how that breaks down and what we as human beings know how to fix it. And here I was stuck in a position where I could barely think. I had at one point been a very highly successful doctor with multiple practices, and I couldn't even imagine getting back to that point. I couldn't imagine getting to the point where it didn't hurt to pick out my clothes in the morning. It didn't hurt to figure out, how to, unscrew the cap of my toothpaste and put it on my toothbrush without it giving me a headache. So I spent months depressed, Ken. I'll be honest with you. I felt useless. I couldn't do anything. And useless is a word that it's hard to explain. Like when on a daily basis, when you go out and even you can smile and bring joy to anybody's face, actually be a productive member of society, you don't understand how that makes you feel. That gives you kind of like this life force, this life energy that keeps you going. And when you can't do that, like there really is, there stops to be this, reason for living, and so to speak. So when you get to that point, there's really, it comes hard every day to come up with a reason to go on, so I spent many days.
How did you do that? How did you go on when there's nothing? You can't contribute. You can't really, you're now have to receive. You're in a, because you're used to being a giver. You're used to giving out there, putting out there, doing things, being an action guy. Now you're just in this state where you got to be taken care of. Things are coming at you, but you can't contribute back. What happened there?
Okay, so
and how did you get out of it too?
How did I get out of it? And that's part of, how about this? Once I appreciated the fact that I had this amazing support system, my family, I had a wife who had a busy practice of her own. She's a cosmetic dermatologist. I have two wonderful children. They were, my son was young when this first started happening. He was under 10, but they grew up quickly and they were able to, help. They were very mature for their age. And I think this is one of the reasons, because they had to deal with something like this. But they stepped in and kept the family going and kept me going in this jellified state, so to speak. And one day I literally, it was right at the moment of waking up where the sunlight was just hitting my eye. And this is after spending months in this depression and imagining just letting go. Like no one needed me. Literally at this point in my life, no one needed me to be around. I was a burden. Like I was a dead weight in other people's lives. And so I imagined just letting go. And one morning the sunlight hits my eyes and I'm just at the point of waking up. And I think I had just tried to watch TV, and you don't understand, watching TV was also a pain. Like it hurt to watch TV because my brain didn't work. And so following, plots and characters, that was just too much for me. And I think I had just watched something simple like like some survival show, like I woke up, survival Bear Grylls, something. And I woke up and I just remember thinking, you know what? I don't have to worry about being killed and eaten. And I don't have to worry about killing something to eat. Right?
Yeah.
I'm in a warm bed. I have a blanket that's pulled up to my chin. Lying next to me is my wife, who still loves me, who's still with me. I can't. I've been in this state now for probably a year and a half, 2 years, maybe. Just recovering. She still loves me. She still supports me. I still have 2 children downstairs that respect me, and I'm lucky. Like, I'm one of the fortunate people on this planet that can be in this state of life. And I realized I was, yes, alive. Like even if I wasn't at the top of my game, I was more than.
So did gratitude, when you got to gratitude, did that start to work for you? I mean, was that one of the pieces, right?
100% gratitude. The fact that for the first time in my life, so I've always been.
And let me ask you this. Yes. Okay, so you're a scientist. You're a scientist, right? Why did gratitude work? Why did that work and not, something else? What was the shift with that?
Because knowledge is only half the battle. I always look at speed limit signs, and speed limit 55. What does that mean? Nothing. It's just you read it and blank. But if you saw the statistics for that particular curve and saw how many people, fell off that road, skidded off, died, got maimed, injured, and for every road in the States, and you knew those statistics, you would slow down automatically, right? If you intrinsically knew that. Yeah. And so that was the difference. Like when you read about it and when you think about it, and I thought about death and illness, and I'll be frank, I'll put it to you this way. I was up until
Actually, before you do that, I got to take a quick break. So
do what you got.
We'll come back and we'll carry on. All of you that are watching this show today, I want to first of all thank you for being here, and I also want to let you know that this show grows as you grow with us. In other words, when you share this show with your family and friends, and they listen to some of the journeys that some of the people that we bring in to help you identify with your own journey and to make the shifts that you need to make to heal it, whatever it is, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. That's how we all grow. So I encourage you to check out our YouTube channel and subscribe, and you too can also grow with us. So hope you'll do that. All righty.
Imagine this is your money and someone wants to take it from you. Who is it? The IRS. Guess what? They want your money and they can take it, all of it if they want. Remember, they sent you that letter right over here that said, hey, you owe us a bunch of cash and we're going to take it from you right now. So what do? You fight back by letting our team of experts work it out with the IRS so you can keep your money. And hey, we're good at what we do. When you hire us, you get a team of guys on your side that know the IRS laws, and we'll fight really hard to save your money. So, if you owe the IRS a ton of cash and you want to keep it, call right now and learn for free how we can help you put it back in your pocket. 5 minutes of your time right now can save you thousands of dollars. And the best part, it's a free call, so please call right now.
Let's talk about now what has to happen. You went in this gratitude state, you started to heal. Did you, when you're going through this thing and you're observing your own consciousness. So there's the observer of what's going on, and then there's the ego that's making the decisions and the willpower and all that. And what was the shift? Like you said, the gratitude was the shift. Then what happened next?
Well, here's what the gratitude and the appreciation, and here's the way I'll describe it. Up until that point, I don't think I really cared enough to do anything. There's a certain willpower, there's certain activation energy that you need to, initiate any process. There's a certain level that you need to attain, and I don't think I was there.
Yeah.
And up until that point, I think just like anyone else, I was always worried about getting sick, and I was always worried about dying, just like anybody else. Like, you consider yourself kind of floating along at a certain level, and any illness is a negative, right? And I thought, well, what's the positive of life? I thought, going from nothing to something when I was born, that's an infinite amount of a life, whatever that inflection is. So I realized that from no matter where I was alive, and it was just a minor deflection of illness, and I was far from being dead. And so being alive was like flying. I realized, even though I was flying in a fog, I was indeed flying. I was off the ground. Didn't matter how far off the ground I was, and didn't matter how far everyone else is flying. I was there. I was part of life. And if I just continued like this, I realized my body was still kind of healthy. And so to live like this for another 40 or 50 years of just blah, I realized right then and there, I was happy to be alive. I would rather be alive than dead. Like, I put it this way, up until that point, I imagined letting go and something just taking me. But other than that, I couldn't imagine actually dying. So I said, okay, I made that decision right then and there. Like, okay, stop thinking about dying. That's ridiculous. Like, that's not really an option. And then living like this for the next 40 or 50 years is also not an option.
So you found your why. You found your why. You went, okay, enough is enough. And I'm going to get out of this. So, I know my own personal journey. There was a time in my life where I heard this little voice that said, you got to feel the pain to make the change. And, that following that little voice, which was the voice of courage at the time, my own inner guidance, that's transformed everything in my life, right? Everything. So, I've learned how to use pain to change my life. Pain meaning, if I want to build muscle, it's going to be painful. I got to go to the gym and go do that. Doesn't feel great, but that's what changes everything. Got to feel the pain to make the change. And, so I can go on that. But you were feeling a lot of pain. You were depressed. You couldn't work. Your body wasn't working. Your mind wasn't working correctly. Okay, how did you use that pain to turn it into a purpose?
Okay, pain. Okay, I didn't really. I kind of glanced over. I kind of glazed over the pain aspect of things. When your brain doesn't work, and this brain tumor that was sitting in the middle of my head, while I was on, I also took a certain specified chemotherapy for it. That made the symptoms even worse while I was on it. But while you're in dysfunction, it hurts to even think about thinking. I don't know even how to describe that. Like, it's if you have something to think about, you don't even want to think about it because it hurts. So the amount of pain I was in was constant, and it was intense. And it was to the point where there were times where literally my wife would wake up in the morning and find me on the ground, just in a fetal position, because I tried to get up and go to the restroom or something, and it was just too much to think about. And pain became there came a point, and this is where that also turned around. There came a point where I realized that pain does not have to come with anxiety and anger. Up until that point, every time I hit my thumb with a hammer, I would feel the pain, and I would get you would feel an emotional response. And usually there's some sort of anger, I hate, why am I even building this thing? I should have hired somebody, this stupid hammer, it's the wrong length, it's whatever. Like, up until that point, there was, right? Up until that point, there was always
Yeah,
And
I'm laughing because there's a point in time when I would lose a pencil when I'd get upset and angry, right? You get it, right? Yeah.
exactly, like it's the one does not come without. How about this? It's easy for the two to be linked.
Yeah.
And up until that point, I realized that it was useless for me to get angry. It was useless for me to get emotional. As a matter of fact, I was so exquisitely sensitive to pain that I realized that it made it more painful. Like, and scientific studies actually show that and support it. But if you give into that pain and feel that anxiety and give into that anger and fear, you will feel more pain. The beauty of it and the also the agony of it for me was that I was in the position to really feel that at a higher level. So I quickly meaning over the course of weeks, because our human brains take a while to learn. But I quickly learned to dissociate the two. Like if I felt pain, I would initially, of course, feel that emotion, but learn to suppress it quicker and quicker. And now I feel like I'm pretty good at it. You never get perfect at it, but the sooner that you dissociate the two, the more the sooner you realize that you can start to get better.
That's great. All right, listen, I got to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to discuss a few things. I want to discuss where faith and resilience combine together to transform this. Also, you have a book out there, man, that's coming out. I've got a little sneak preview of it myself. It's powerful. It's called Broken. And
Unbroken.
Unbroken. And I want to discuss that when we get back. So we will take a break, and then I will be right back. One of the things that you can do in your own life to transform is to every single day have some kind of a structure in your life, right? One of the things that I like to do when I wake up with my eyes, like this morning, I woke up in gratitude. I tell my body that I'm awake and ready. I'm in a place where I will go out. I'll put in some high vibrational music in our home, right? That there's the frequencies that raise our brain, raise our consciousness. So I do that. I'll do some energization, right? And most importantly, what I like to do is I like to just take some quiet time, and tune in and let everything go for a minute to realize that I'm not necessarily this body or this mind, but I'm something greater. Those are some of the steps I do. And there's a book that I wrote. It's called The Courage to Change Everything: Daily Strategies and Essential Wisdom to Awaken Your Inner Genius. You can get this book today by going couragetochange.us, couragetochange.us. It's a daily strategies every single day that you read that will infuse wisdom, understanding, and give you some direction. I hope you'll take me up on it. Take care. Okay, we're going to get right back to the show in just a second.
Hi, everyone watching at home. We're here to remind you that if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have live agents available right now to answer your questions and tell you how much your case is potentially worth. Hi, I'm Gina Bellich, here with spokesman and TV personality Tom Mustin with us in the Help Center. So Tom, phones are really busy over there. Tell us what kind of calls you're seeing.
Well, Gina, first off, thank you for having me here in the call center with you. We always enjoy talking to the viewers and getting folks the compensation that they deserve. We're seeing calls about all kinds of accidents, but the most common by far has been car accidents. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, give us a call right now. You'll speak with a live person. They'll answer any questions you have and tell you if you have a case and how much your case is potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. All right, folks at home, you heard it. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now.
Well, welcome back, everybody. I'm talking to Dr. James Lee. He is and still remains a globally respected anesthesiologist, although his life is transformed in so many ways, as we're talking about now. By the way, James, what are you doing these days?
So I currently work with my wife, who is a cosmetic dermatologist, and you would wonder how the two intersect. While I was going through this, she was being introduced to a new technology in the field of aesthetics that, how about this? I'll fast forward. While I was kind of discovering how to put myself back together, she was biochemically and fundamentally, she was figuring out medical ways to stimulate regeneration, healing, and growth. She was doing it for the face and aesthetic reasons. I realized I wanted to do it for me, for inner and outer growth. So I got into regenerative and medicine, and I work along with my wife currently.
That's awesome. I'm so glad I asked you about that, because I think that there's a goodness to the story. But I want to get back to the story too. So what I want to say is, okay, so we're in you're coming back. How important was regenerative medicine? I'll stop there. Let me go there, and then I'll go to faith and resilience in a minute. But let's talk about the regenerative medicine.
Everything was important. How about this? There are many aspects to who we are as human beings, and all of those are important, and they're all supported in different ways. And this is kind of how I really started to think about it. We're talking about the pain. First, I started listening to my pain, because pain is there for a reason. I knew as a doctor there are certain people that are born without any pain sensation at all. They just don't feel pain. Their nerve endings don't work the same way. And you and I would think, oh my gosh, when I first heard about this, that would be amazing, right? You don't feel any pain. You don't have to worry about it. You'd be fearless. You could do anything. Actually, those individuals have a decreased lifespan, tremendously decreased, because they don't avoid things that harm them. Like they literally will leave their hand on stoves. They will jump off of buildings. It doesn't hurt them, so they're not afraid of anything. And before the age of 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, if you don't have that kind of fear, you don't survive. So pain is there for a reason. And so I started listening to that. And if it hurt to think, I realized maybe my brain's not ready to think, if it hurt to try something. And in that state, I realized I could only get 1 or 2 good thoughts in a day. But I learned to be happy with that. And I realized, again, I have 40 or 50 years to get better. And I realized, first and foremost, I realized that was my only job at that point, is to get better. If I was going to be useful to myself, my family, my wife, my kids at all, ever in the future, I need to at least do what I can now to pick myself up. I
think that's such an important piece that you just mentioned, because I think a lot of people, what you're saying is that, okay, so you found purpose. You got really clear with what your job was, what your vision was, right? And then, and then you went into a place of gratitude of what I could do today. And then you applied that, and let go probably a lot of the judgment or criticism of yourself or those types of things. Maybe you didn't even have those thoughts. I don't know. But
no. I had many about. Before the decision, before that moment, I had many thoughts of, oh man, I used to be this. I used to be like on top of my game, on top of the world. One of the few people who could say they graduated from Yale and Stanford. I kind of prize my brain. I don't want to pump myself up, but that's how far I fell. So I didn't want to think about where I had come from, because that was too painful. It's too depressing. So I learned very quickly that I put blinders on. I'm only looking this way. And what I described is continual improvement. As long as I was on an upward trajectory, no matter how gradual and no matter how slow I was improving, I was headed up. That's all that mattered to me. So I put blinders on and I looked at, and I put myself on the road, and I kept walking.
See, that's what I love about your story, because it's so applicable to all of us. It's like, okay, a lot of times we start over. People start over. I started over several times, right? And at that place, there's a place of, everything was wiped out for you. And quite frankly, that was probably a gift at some level. Okay.
I talk about, okay, so actually two things happened to me, but I talk about that as I was recovering from my brain tumor. Eventually, about 5 years after this whole process, I started cleaning up. I'm going out to dinner with my family. We're at a Chinese restaurant, one of those places where after the meal you get a little fortune cookie. My family's reading theirs and laughing, and I'm reading mine, and I have tears rolling down my eyes, tears. So my wife asks me, what does yours say? And how happy is the man who has everything taken away and given it half back? Yeah.
Yeah. Got that. You of all people got that. And this is after everything.
Yeah, this is like one of the first meals that we're going to as a family. Like I can enjoy it. I can go out and be a part of the family, and I get that. And I'm thinking, at the time, it's what I've been through. But so I spent the last 3 to 5 years without a brain. I then ruptured 2 discs carrying luggage. And now I with spinal cord injury. Now I spent the next 3 to 5 years without my body. So I had to take what I learned, with my brain and go forward with it. So I had the double whammy, and I have a true appreciation for life.
How important today, and probably through the process, was your mind, the mindset? Positive mindset. How was it?
100%. Again, up until the point where I decided to do things about my life, I was very depressed. I was very negative. I'll be honest with you. I was very hard to be around, and I really credit my family for sticking through it. Yeah, because I was miserable. About my life. I was miserable about what I used to have, or what I couldn't be ever again. And how about this? I realized at that point, I will stop at least being the ballast that's pulling my family down, the emotional ballast. I made it a point from that moment on to be a positive emotional influence on my family. When my kids came home from school, I'm going to try to help them with homework. And you're asking, how does that work? Like a guy that's everything that used to be in my head was still there. Everything that I have to do or maintain or keep track of and forget about. So if you ask me questions, I'm literally lying there, especially when my brain was getting better and it was just my neck. I'm just literally lying there. The kids are asking me questions about homework. I'm helping them. So I do what I can. And I did the best to not take the negativity that I felt about my life and pass it on to anyone around me from that point on.
Yeah, that's really good. All right, listen, I'm gonna take another break here, and I want to come back, and I'm gonna ask you this when I come back, so you can be prepared. I want to know the 3 most important lessons that you learned that you can pass on to my audience about going through transition. Okay, so we'll do that right when we get back.
Hi folks, Joe Namath here. Did you know that I wear hearing aids? I love my hearing aids, and I am here to help you get a deal on the same brand I wear.
Don't waste thousands on expensive hearing aids when you can get MD Hearing's revolutionary Neo hearing aids for just $297 a pair. The Neo is a true hearing aid, not an amplifier. with rechargeable technology many customers say is superior to more expensive models. And you can get 2 Neo hearing aids with a 45-day risk-free trial, free shipping, and free lifetime US-based support for only $297. The Neo is nearly invisible with its tiny in-the-ear canal design.
Call my friends at MD Hearing and get the over-the-counter hearing aids that I use for you.
Call now and get not 1 but 2 Neo hearing aids for just $297.
800-789-7885. Again, that's 800-789-7885.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is your host, kendfoster. I'm talking to Dr. James Lee. We're talking about his story going from broken to unbroken. I kind of like that, from broken to unbroken. I think that's pretty cool. And let's take that realm. Okay, what I asked you before the break. What would you say? And I hate to put you on the spot, but what are the 3 most important steps that you learned, you grew, what you learned, and you can pass it?
That's easy. That's easy because I had to simplify it to 3 steps. Because I had to do the thinking. Don't get me wrong. I went back and I said, I looked at the biochemist and said, I want to fix my brain. I want to do exercise. I want to exercise my brain. And if you want to build muscle, you want to exercise, right? So I said, I want to exercise my brain. But at the same time, I want to give my brain what it needs. If you want to build muscle, you need protein. I want to give my brain what it needs to build neurons and new synapses and new connections. I said, what is that? And I went back to my biochemistry and I, one by one, put it into I realized I need to be putting things in my diet. So the 3 steps, eat, do, think. This is the way I think about it. Eat, do, think. I realized I needed to be eating better, putting the right nutrients into me so that my brain is going to make the neurons. My brain is going to make the synapses, but I need to put into me the right ingredients so that my brain could do that. So I needed to eat better. I needed to do, again, I went back to my medicine. I realized that we take these nutrients in, our bodies then push these nutrients throughout, its system by pumping it. So we need to actually get that system going. And that's half of what exercise is. It's taking the nutrients and getting it to every little corner of our brain. Like normally, if we're not using our brain and we're at rest, our bodies like to contract everything down. Most of your brain's not getting very much blood at all. But when you exercise, it forces the body to pump more blood, excess blood everywhere, including your brain. So eat, do, and then think. I wanted to improve every aspect of who I was. I wanted to improve what I thought about and what I did with what I thought about. And then one of the fundamental things I realized is, I'm going to change the way I think about my relationships. So I started calling my father more. I started calling my brothers more. I became more attentive to my wife and my children. I realized that I couldn't do very much for myself. So I'm going to try to do as much as I can for those around me. And do those 3 things, concentrate on the eat, the do, and the think. Make one thing better each day. Like I literally took one thing. If I got tired of fixing what I ate, I'm gonna fix what I do today. I'm gonna go for a walk. I'm gonna do some calisthenics. I'm gonna take my dog for a run. He runs.
What I love about this is I love the simplicity of it. My dad,
make it simple.
Yeah, my father was with the Los Angeles Police Department for 48 years. And he boiled it. I said, Dad, tell me your most profound advice. He says, sure, Ken, just do it. Do something and do it now. Yeah, that's it. And he wasn't as sophisticated maybe as he left out the thinking part because I think we need to think about it. But the truth is, a lot of times when I personally start to think, sometimes I don't do. So, you know what I'm saying?
I put think last, actually. It's ironic, but I realized in order to help my brain, in order to help the way I think, I needed to help my brain. In order to help my brain, I actually needed to fix what I ate first, because the brain relies on biochemicals to function. Every thought is just a release of biochemicals in different parts of my brain.
Yeah.
That depends on nutrition. So I realized that it took thought to change eating, but really I have to change eating to change thought. So there's this cycle that I realized I needed to catch earlier.
Yeah. 100%. All right. Well, this is made. Okay, we didn't get to your book, but we can. We've got a couple minutes. Let me just, because your book isn't out yet, but it will be coming out. When do you anticipate? Sometime in 2025, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Right now it's in the final stages. I've already had it finally revised, edited. So all the manuscript is pristine. We picked a cover. Now we're just working on the interior formatting, make sure the paragraphs line up. Literally, we should be a couple months away.
Couple months. Okay. So somewhere we look for Unbroken by Dr. James Lee.
Unbroken. So the official title, Unbroken, a doctor's journey back to a life worth living.
I love it.
And yes. And so it basically takes you through quickly through about where my life was, what happened to me, the depths of where I fell, what it took to both my brain tumor and my neck injury, and what it took for me and my family to bring me back to where I am today.
That's beautiful. All right. Well, we're out of time. I thank you so much for being here. Your story is so heart-wrenching, really. And, for those that are listening to the show today, I'm sure that they've been touched too. So thank you, Dr. James. Any final thoughts for the audience, what you'd like to leave them with?
Well, here's what kept me going as well. What we're built for, I believe, are the two moments where we're either inspiring or being inspired. Everything else is wasted. Everything else is just getting better. Everything else prepping, practice. But if you work towards either inspiring somebody or being inspired by somebody, I think you're on your way to attaining your true self.
I love that. I'll also make this comment. The science of neuroplasticity, right, is alive and well. James has completely come back as a result of, I would say, our understanding of that science. Because, at not too long ago, they would diagnose you as, that's it, you're a vegetable the rest of your life. And a lot of people would think that. They would just think that that's the way it's going to be, right?
You know what? And you can kind of, well, how about this? On a daily basis, on a biochemical level, you're rebuilding yourself. And so as long as you push yourself a little bit every day, you're going to rebuild yourself a little bit better, a little bit stronger, or at least as much as your biochemistry limits. So that's what I would say. Just make sure you're pushing yourself a little every day.
A little every day, man. I love it. All right. You heard it from the best of the best in change. I want to say change management. But what a great story you have, Dr. James. Thank you so much for being with us, and we really appreciate everything you've done. And for the rest of you, I want to thank you for being here for the Healit show. Again, I encourage you to pass it on to your friends and family. Until next time, I hope you will continue to look for within yourself those areas that you're choosing to heal, to grow, to develop, and become the best version of you. Take care.